Hello, and welcome to the debacle of mustard. So I wanted to first make fun of all your memes. You keep sending me these funny little mustard memes. Where do you get them all? Where do you get the JPEGs?
Yeah,
he's got mustard coming. He's got what was the one you just sent?
Mustard all over somebody's face. Yeah, when you told me that we had such a huge audience waiting for us, that I had to, send you something that represented my excitement to be here.
Which is to say, a fair lack of.
Okay.
Yeah, so everybody knows Jamie is here under duress. I have harassed him as the kid brother and forced him to do this. He doesn't want to. He doesn't appreciate this as much as I do.
We can talk about some things that I would like to get your take on now.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
That's the fun of it.
Okay, Daniel. What is ARC?
Affinity Reality Communication. First, I have to ask you, though, because there was some commentary about the last time we talked, and the comment was, oh, it really felt like a sec check. So is that what you're doing, Jamie?
I think that you have a good way. You have a good way of kind of breaking down things into the really are. You know, you're good at kind of taking the things,
putting things on my own words.
Yeah, I have questions.
I'm a poet.
I have a bunch of questions for you. So can I ask you some questions?
Yes. Affinity Reality Communication. I think Van Morrison or Leonard Cohen, that's one of those guys. That's why they got into it, because they liked this one. One of them did a whole album about it, I think.
How does it work?
Well, there's 3 points to a triangle, and as each point is risen or falls, each other point does also rise or fall.
And who came up with it?
I don't know. L. Ron Shithead. Okay. L. Ron Howard.
Okay.
No, it's L. Ron Hubbard.
And is it true?
Kind of, I guess. You know, when you have affinity for somebody, you want to talk to them more, and if you talk to them more, affinity rises. What was the other one? Affinity Reality Community. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know.
What if they're a jackhole?
Then yeah, probably maybe not. Okay, good point. Fair point. Fair point. If they're a horrible person to talk to, somebody you can't stand talking to, then I suppose affinity lowers, and then communication lowers, and so on and so forth. But that's also it moves in both directions.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. All right. So when we're younger, you know, like again, we were born into this thing in different ways. I was born into,
I was born by the river.
I was born into the bowels of the mothership. Okay.
We were born in the bowels. I got shit out early.
Okay. Meaning I was living in the inner Navy baby machine, baby care factory.
It's interesting the way you put it. You refer to it as a puppy mill, like a baby making factory, and that really was the mentality back then. Was that everybody having babies was making babies to be in the Sea Org, right?
Yeah, I think that the idea was that we would be born, we'd be put over here, so we wouldn't keep people from working, and then we would be, basically penned up or, grown for labor until we were old enough to do labor, and then we would,
11 9 10
okay, so one of the things
I'm just saying there was a huge recruiting of the children of the time.
Yeah.
So, and it was about 11 or 12 apparently was the age in which you were old enough to be sucked.
Yeah, but obviously, when you're in there as a baby, maybe you're earlier. Okay, so
you made the Patty Hearst comparison.
Okay, so let me ask you.
That was an apt one.
Yeah, let me ask this question. So when you're a kid and you hurt yourself or you get upset, maybe you're 5 years old, you're 4 years old, you're 7 years old, and you're crying, or what do they tell you?
Man up, essentially. You're expected to be in control of your feelings. You're not allowed to cry or be upset, and there's no soothing. That's the thing that really fucks me up. There's no consolation. There's no like, it's okay, baby, you're all right. There's none of that. It's be quiet, touch assist. You're not.
It was really interesting. I was in
no HENR, that kind of bullshit. Is that what you mean?
I was in a large jail a couple of years ago in the American South interviewing guys that were in for a long time, mostly guys that had committed murder.
My dating pool.
Yeah, and one of the things that one of the guys said to me, two of the guys said it. One was I think a car thief. The other one had spent most of his life in prison as a murderer, 27 years. And they said that in these two different interviews, they said they didn't get their emotional needs met when they were younger. And one of the guys that said that it was the child of a pimp and a prostitute, or a sex worker, as we call it now. I don't want to offend anybody. And it was really shocking to me because I'm in this prison cell interviewing this guy that was going to spend most of his life in jail for killing someone, a former gang affiliated guy. And he's telling me that he didn't get his emotional needs met as a child, and that his father was a pimp and his mother was, had been, I'll use the vernacular at the time, a prostitute.
Yeah.
And it was just a moment.
Lady of the night.
Yeah, it was this moment of.
Wait, my father was a pimp. My mother was a euphemism.
Yeah, and it was a moment of cognitive dissonance where it was like, I was thinking about it, like, got your emotional needs met. I mean, I was sitting there in that moment, and this is only a couple of years ago, going, I didn't even know I had emotional needs as a child.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't want this to turn into like some big kind of like.
We weren't. No, but Jamie,
I know, but
we weren't allowed. We weren't allowed to have emotional needs.
I know. So I don't want to turn into this big kind of mustard sad fest where we're complaining, but it made me think about that concept. So, my situation was very extreme in the sense that I'm in this, baby mill with very few kids. The dregs are who they put on baby duty. Right.
My mother, do you know that Sue ran the nursery at one point?
Well, that means that she wasn't very valuable.
Okay. No, she used to tell this story for years, like it was funny, about a kid who escaped, who got out onto the street, got into a car, and managed to undo the brake, and the car started rolling down the hill. And this was a kid we knew as a grown person. I can't remember who it was, but it was somebody who was like, every time we saw him, she'd be like, oh, that time he almost killed himself. It was so funny. And she thinks she stopped the car with her OT ability.
Okay.
The car.
Dude, I'm trying to get on. I'm staying on a point here. What do you?
Oh, there's a point. Okay. All right. Sorry.
Okay.
My bad.
No, it's okay. So obviously my circumstances in terms of poverty, illiteracy, and those kind of things were kind of extreme. Right. But I think a lot about this concept. Like, I was kind of jarred by these two different guys telling me they didn't get their emotional needs met, because I wasn't even thinking, even as a grown person, about my emotional needs. So then I started thinking about this concept of kind of like how we're not treated as children. We're treated as trillion-year-old fallen gods. We're trillion-year-old fallen gods in baby bodies, right?
Yeah.
And taking it out of an extreme circumstance, right? And just putting that and say you're a public kid. Say your parents are wealthy.
Look, I've been saying this for a while.
No, I'm asking you a question, but let me make this a question. So say my parents are wealthy. They're whales. So they got platinum, Invictatorius or whatever, right? And I've given gajillions to the cause, or for the big placards. Like yeah. I mean, we're not going to call anybody out, but
I don't know. That chick is on the show right now.
Wasn't the mustards. We'll say that it wasn't the mustards, but
it wasn't.
Yeah. But that's what their parents are looking at them that way. They have a nice house. They have a nice room. They're going to maybe a movement school. Does that have a psychological effect on a child? Is that a mild psychological effect on a child? That's quite a hat, Daniel. It's very dandy.
I love this hat. It's my dandy hat. Okay. This was a little. I got hit by a car one time in the city, and I lost my hat that I had. So I bought this hat for $2 out of a bin, and it's the best hat ever.
Okay, let's stay focused. So say
you're the one that got distracted by a hat.
Okay, all right. So would that, being told, say you have all your material needs taken care of, but your parents do have this you that you just came from another life. You've just come from had your memory erased, on the, in the far side of the moon by psychiatrists, and your memory is erased, and you came from another life and you've lived for 1,000,000,000 years and you were a god, and they're seeing you as somebody that's experienced every possible thing that you could have ever experienced, been a parent, been a child, been everything.
You should already know better.
Yeah. And so that in every interaction with you, they're looking at you as a kind of fallen god, not as a child. Okay.
Well, the billionaire.
It's a question. It's a question. Do you think if that happens, to say somebody, a child of means, a public person, somebody that wasn't in the inner core, would that have a strong psychological effect on the development of the child? Is that a minor thing? Is that a major thing?
Yeah, I think it's a more major thing than we necessarily know. I think it can be, that depends on the situation and the degree to which. So like public people who had privilege or went to like normal schools and had normal socialization with non-Scientology people, that's going to be fundamentally different than people who didn't.
Okay, so
when I was a kid, all the Scientology moms were pulling their kids out of public school because they wanted to send them to the Scientology private school. So they're going, and if they couldn't afford the private school, it was homeschooling where they learned nothing.
So they're going to a movement school like Kingsley or Delphi.
Delphi.
Yeah. What is it doing? What does that do to a kid? Do you think? Does it have a strong psychological effect on the kid? Is that something they can shake off? Is that something that's going to affect their development?
I don't think it's something you shake off. I think it's a much better question for Vanessa, to be honest, because she went to Harvard.
I know, but I'm asking you if that you think that is a big deal or not a big deal.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how much of like the socialized programming is in the schools. Like there wasn't a lot of.
No. I'm talking about your parents are treating you that way at home.
Oh, to me that's a big deal.
What would it do to you? What would that do to a child? How would that make them different? How would it not make them different? What would it do?
It really keyed me in, if that's what you mean. I don't know. I don't know how to answer this question in the general way you're asking it, because that's one of the things one of the things I want to say is that like this thing really does affect people in very different ways. Being in the Sea Org is worse in certain ways, but there's also privilege to that because you have a greater understanding of the mechanism that outsiders are just effect of.
I'm going to translate. Daniel's I'm going to translate what Daniel just said from mustard into English. Okay, so what Daniel's saying is that kids take everything on as if everything's their fault. They take things in very extreme ways.
If you're taught, kids take things in very extreme ways. Yeah, so if you're being permanent, the idea that things are permanent when you're young.
So that if you were treated like you were an adult, that this could create an unbearable psychological burden and scar on a child that would completely arrest their development. That's what you're saying, correct?
Yes, I think so. Here, real quick. Wait, Vanessa just included a comment here. Definitely a big deal. She says she went to Delphi. Not having access to mental health services or social services is not good for kids. To be spot checked every damn day if you yawn is not good for kids. Yeah, the way they're so fucking on you about every stupid thing, and this narrow-minded concept that you could only yawn because there's something you're doing wrong, you have misunderstood or whatever it is, and not because this is boring, or whatever. There's no other explanation. There's no conversation.
You were living in a derelict, terrorizing.
Right. You can't fucking sleep at night because there's gunfire and rats crawling over your feet or whatever. Yeah, and helicopters all night long. Exactly.
Yeah.
And also something Vanessa and others have spoken to that I think is really damaging is the denial of mental health services. When somebody, especially a young person, comes to a grown-up and says, I'm struggling with X, Y, or Z, and they say, read a book or go get a session instead of seeking out appropriate means to handle or help. Or even like we were already saying, like it's okay, baby. You're okay. There's none of that. That's always like, because it's always your responsibility. You have to figure it out. That idea of I'd love to help you. As soon as you have it all figured out, you get back to me and then I'll help you. Like that's a very that's kind of part of what I'm talking, what it feels like anyway.
Okay. Let's deviate from movement topics for a second here. Okay. Here's a question. Are aliens real? Do aliens exist, Daniel?
I believe in the Carl Sagan sort of sense that it would be an awful waste of space if there weren't other life in the universe. It seems far fetched to me to look at if you have a concept of how vast space is, to think that we're the only life forms in all of that, I think is silly and kind of arrogant. And it is certainly, I think, human ego that leads us to think of ourselves as the center of the universe. We once did think that the Earth was the center of the universe, and that's ego. And I think it's ego again that says, "Oh, we're the only intelligent life in the universe." I don't know if there's alien intervention. I don't know about close encounters and all that, but I do believe there has got to be life in space.
Do you think they're visiting us? Are they walking among us?
I think if they did, it's much more possible they may have in some sort of ancient time.
How about
there's a lot of really bizarre ancient references to things that seem to be a primitive trying to decipher what we would understand as being UFOs and stuff like that. Even the religious narratives, the pagan narratives of the Greeks and stuff. There is theory that all originates from an actual that the brothers of Zeus, Neptune, and Hades were actually aliens. I don't know, but
so yes,
I forgot what I was saying.
Your answer is yes.
Oh, if there ever was, I think there may have been. I think there may have been a long time ago.
So
I don't think.
Okay, so
I don't believe in the guys in the anal probes and all that stuff. I don't think that's happening.
So back to another question. So somebody has my really, really shocking kind of boohoo, poverty, never go to school, illiteracy, kind of child torture story, right? And then another person grows up in a wealthy movement family, okay? But we're both getting the same indoctrination.
But there's a point to make. There's a point to make there because it's about the result. So if in your life things are honky-dory, and of course Scientology will tell you that if things are going well, it's because of the Scientology, and you attribute your successes to course action and going up the grades, then that's going to be a completely different experience.
No, but what I'm asking the opposite.
Somebody who's not succeeding.
Say I'm getting this indoctrination inside the mothership in the inner core from this like quasi Navy group from birth. Okay. You're this immortal spiritual being. You just have to remember that you know everything. You've lived through everything. You're a fallen God. And then you got a rich kid out here who's going to Delphi, and he or she is having the same indoctrination. Okay. Is that indoctrination abuse outside of an actual abusive environment? Is that indoctrination going to
indoctrination is abusive? I think that
no, but I'm speaking specifically about
no matter who. I think it's
being treated like an adult. Being told that
because it doesn't allow you to be a child. This is what fucked up Michael Jackson. This is what fucks up a lot of people. You're not allowed to be a child.
I know. So what is that? If someone is not allowed to,
I'll tell you about.
Either rich or, and let me ask a direct question. Someone's
Okay.
either rich or they grew up in the inner Navy poor, like me, and they're not allowed to be a child. What does that do to a person? What do you think that's going to do to a person in the long term? And they're not allowed to be emotional. They're not allowed to be a child.
It stunts their growth. It's arrested development by definition.
In what way? Well, what are you going to see? Give me an example.
Well, like,
are you going to see like a crazy genius singer like living?
No, you're going to see emotionally shut down people who robotically perform for a purpose and don't actually feel it.
Would you see like a crazy talented singer living in Washington Square Park? Okay, all right.
I think I've lost the thread.
Okay, all right. Here's a question. What is intention is cause?
Your intention is cause. It means, I don't know, put your mind to it.
What does that mean? What does intention is cause mean?
The more you work at something, the more capable you are going to be of it.
No,
wait, let me put it this way. What this reminds me of is in recovery, in an outpatient recovery thing called Greenwich House, in groups, and it's a mixed bag of people you get in those groups, and often there are drug dealers, former drug dealers who have been in prison and are now out of prison, and they have mandated recovery. And That's one of the things they really sell to those guys is look at all the intention, all the effort and energy and mind power that you put into this shady behavior. Imagine what you could do with all that intention to be cause in a positive direction.
What does it
Is that
mean?
what you're talking about?
Yeah, but what does it mean to say intention is cause? What does it actually mean in English?
It means that, well, I mean, literally, you mean what does it literally mean, or what does
Yeah,
L.
what
Ron
does
Hubbard
it
mean?
literally mean? What does it literally mean? You know, what does L. Ron Hubbard mean by it?
L. Ron Hubbard means if you think it, you can be it.
Okay.
If you're OT enough.
Is that true?
No, not really.
Why not?
I mean, it can be. I mean, people make vision boards, don't they? Isn't that the same thing?
Okay, so you're saying it is true or it isn't true? What's your
I'm
answer?
saying it can be. Like almost everything anybody ever says can be true. Like broke clock is right twice a day, even L. Ron Hubbard.
God, you hedge on all the questions. All right, let me ask you another.
Well, because they're unanswerable questions. That's why they're mind fucks. That's why people use these kind of ideas to fuck with people.
Okay, so what does it mean?
So yeah, so this is how propaganda works. Okay, there's always some truth. There's always a nugget of absolute pure truth at the center of a big ball of shit.
Okay,
so yes, of course, it's sometimes true. All of these things are sometimes true, Jamie. But the way he wants to present everything as being universally true, it's only this and never anything else, is where it goes really nuts.
You need to like relax and stop being banky. I'm just asking questions. Just stop.
Am I being banky?
Yeah. Okay. Just asking questions. Just asking questions.
You're being developed. You're developed traffic.
Okay, I think I asked you this in the last one. I think I asked you this in the last one, but I want to kind of go a little deeper dive on this particular concept because I feel like you were hangry that day and you weren't really willing to engage with me. This is an important.
I was confused by the line of questioning.
No, I know. Okay, so what would give you this is a layup. This is a softball. Okay. Okay. So what does it mean to pull in something?
What happened? Oh, pulling something. Pulling in the sky. It means it's karmic. It's the idea that you've done something to make it happen to you.
Okay.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
It's karma. That's what he's talking about.
Okay, good. So is that true?
Karma?
No, pull in.
It can be. Yes, I have seen people actively take actions to pull in bullshit.
So it's
and
true.
I've also seen people do nothing and bullshit happens. So no, sometimes that's true. Yes, people are responsible for things that happen to them sometimes. And sometimes shit just happens, Jamie. This is the problem with people wanting absolute answers from faith, theology, and cult is there are no absolute answers. There's a lot.
Is it more true or less true, or is it 50-50 completely random?
It depends on how fucking scared you are. It depends on how distracted you are. People who are really scared and distracted create their own drama all fucking day long.
Does pulling out work?
You mean as in sex? You mean like the rhythm method?
Yeah.
Not very well, as I understand it.
Okay. All right.
I know. Is it true? Craps is on right.
No, one of the things I've been thinking a lot about.
Who remembers the movie Marathon Man and Laurence Olivier's Is It Safe? Is it safe? Is it safe? That's what this reminds me of. Oh, you're about to torture me with dental tools, motherfucker.
Whoever's there, don't feel triggered. You know, we're bantering. It's the
Okay. I also want to say on pull in. Same words, different meanings. Pull in has a Bible meaning, Midwestern meaning, Scientology meaning, legal strategy meaning. Love you, witness. Thank you so much. And I wrote a song after our last conversation about whether or not pulling in things is true. And I wrote a song called "Pulling in the Sky." The idea is the sky is falling because you've pulled it in.
Do you want to play a couple?
I will probably play it.
Like
the point. Wait, I had a fucking point to make. Hold on a sec. What did she say here? Oh, I played the song for a friend of mine, Colleen, who's here. And she said the most beautiful thing. She said she gave me a very Butch Dyke answer. She said very casually, you know, like when you're jumping out of a plane, as though everybody does that, and when you're with a parachute, and when you first pull the release, the parachute opens, and for a minute there, it pulls you up into the sky before you start to descend.
Yeah, I didn't know
And
that.
that's what she said it sounded like. I like that. I'm gonna stick with that. That's
Okay, why don't you sing us a couple bars a cappella? No, you don't need the
Okay.
guitar, a cappella,
No, I
man.
just gotta remember the line. And I'm gonna look at the notebook because I don't want to fuck. If I fuck up the lyric, there's no fucking point. And I've been singing it all morning, but of course I can't remember it.
There it is.
I didn't know about the mountain. I'm gonna get the guitar. Let me just get the guitar. Why
Oh
not?
man. Okay.
Oh, look how much he hates it.
I want
Is
to
it-
hear a cappella. I want to hear a cappella.
But I know it. I can't find the key.
Okay.
Hold on a second.
All right.
But I found it.
Is this going to be like a long tuning thing? We're going to have you tune it. Oh, I got to tune this thing out. Or are you going to just jump right in here?
But I know it now from all these angles. Love and life and clouds turned all inside down, every direction. Why we're all falling right down like all these angels, knowing what it takes, but still full of no breaks, pulling in the sky.
Keep going. Keep going. I was enjoying that. Keep going, man. I was enjoying that. You can't keep going?
Oh, yeah, I can keep going.
Keep going.
I didn't know about the mountain.
Let me have
I
it, man.
didn't feel it full of stone. Couldn't begin now to count them, so we just left them all alone. I didn't arrange for the rainbows breaking into song. They'll only let you take home whatever you brought along. But I know it all now from all these angles. How love and life and clouds turned all inside down, every direction of why we're all falling right down like these drunken angels. None of what it takes, but still full of no breaks, pulling in the sky. Da 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 da. Oh, da 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 da. Da 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 da. Baby, now I know it all right now. From all these different tangles, love and life and clouds turned all inside out, every direction of why I know it. Down like all these angels, all of what it takes, but still full of no breaks, hauling in the sky.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's a beautiful melody. That was a beautiful melody. So what does it mean? What does it mean, Daniel? What's pulling in the sky? What does it all mean, Daniel?
Say what?
It's a beautiful melody, man. Beautiful song.
Thank you. Thank you. I like that one. I like
Yeah.
that one. Michael Tappan! I'm sorry. Excuse me. Mikey Tappan is here. Hello, Michael. It's good to see you.
So, Danny, what does it all mean? What does it mean to pull in the sky? What's the song about?
It's about motivator. It's about Chicken Little complaining that the sky is falling in when he is, in fact, the one that pulled in the sky. But it's not really Chicken Little's fault that the sky is falling, is it?
Can you say it like more in an English, like for a regular
Look, I'm gonna quote Matt Healy of the 1975. I already said it the best way I know how. I don't know how to say it better.
Okay, so is pulling in the sky a good thing or a bad thing?
It depends on how you look at it.
Oh man, you just
In the
never commit to an
context of the
answer.
song, I'm talking about fallen angels who are null of what it takes, but still full of no brakes, pulling in the sky. So the idea of leaping before you look, jumping off the cloud, you know, the idea of a fallen angel not being cast out of heaven so much as stupidly jumping without looking or falling through the clouds. And I return to this a lot. There's a lot of this commentary.
Well, in certain ways, you know, in the doctrine, we're all fallen angels.
Exactly. And that comes exactly. Yes, absolutely. And that's the double entendre.
So
you and I, in fact, are the fallen angels in the song. Yes.
And are we good or bad?
We're fucked over.
And if we pull in the sky, is that a good thing?
It's a thing that we believe but is not probably actually true. So I would say no.
Okay, I like that.
It's a delusion. It would not be a good thing.
And then you said we are the fallen angels, and then you said we got effed over. How, by being on the fallen angels, did we get effed over?
Because we thought because we thought we knew what we were doing. We thought we knew how to fly.
But we didn't. And is that a metaphor for the indoctrination?
Yes.
That's deep, man. You're a soulful dude, man. You know, damn. Wow. That's some deep stuff.
That means a lot. That means a lot coming from you, Jamie. Thank you.
All right. So let's talk about they have this word called auditing. You know, they use it, the protest.
Yeah, there's somebody in our audience who has a Texas audit, I think, and it's a funny thing to see that word in a different context.
Yeah. They use it to like describe the people that were never in it, these amazing people that go to protests. They use it to describe what they're doing to these to the, I don't even want to call them the buildings, to show what's actually happening there. They like an IRS audit. They call it, you know, when they film the buildings, they call it auditing the building, like an IRS audit, looking with scrutiny. But it means looking something very
scrutiny. That's good.
Okay, but it means something. But it means something very different to you and I. Right. So, in your words, based on the doctrine, what is auditing, Daniel?
Oh wow! I don't. That's a big question. Auditing, as it's presented, is a process by which you eliminate your bank from your.
No, but how does it work?
So that you can be a more capable person. I think what it really does is build dependency on the auditor. That it's actually a control tool that actually, literally and actively, deforms your ability to
Did you receive auditing? But basically,
enough to learn to hate it. I certainly received just enough auditing to learn to hate it.
I'm going to mustard translate real quick for you. Okay. Daniel's basically saying that it's the doctrine tools of therapy where you sit behind a meter and they can
it's kind of sold to you like being a sort of form of confession, and there is a sort of a form of confession to it because you are kind of, as he says, giving up your secrets, owning up your stuff. But you're right, but you're giving up your secrets, right? So that's at the end of the day, though, is what it really seems to have been about, is getting people to is getting dirt on people so that you could hold it against them later on.
Well, you know, and there's other stuff about communication, you know, but all the machine does is it can read your thoughts better than you can, so it helps point you in the right direction to say the right stuff, right?
I don't know. Well, let's talk about the machine. So, what is the machine? What is the e-meter?
It's a galvanometer, but I don't even know that I totally understand what a galvanometer.
It's one part of a lie detector test. There's 3 different things on a lie detector test, including heart rate and blood pressure, and then the third thing is this thing.
Does it work? Does it work?
Does a lie detector work?
Sometimes.
You're stealing my answers.
Okay.
I have no idea. I don't really know of a lie detector, but it's not admissible in courts. Can
you tell me about one of your experiences receiving, and give me all the detail you can, receiving auditing? Like, Judy, who audited
Judy
you?
Cutler.
Tell me about it. What was the room like? Were you on the cans? Give me the story.
Judy Cutler was one of the many divorcees that I knew at the time who were all studying to be professional auditors. Like women might like people like divorced people might become real estate agents.
Cut to the chase. Tell the story.
Oh my God, Jamie, let me tell a story, son.
Okay.
Judy Cutler, you want details? Judy Cutler, whose son Seth had shot himself accidentally. And she never got over it. And she was the auditor, and she was it was a past life thing. I remember I had a past life.
How old were you?
I was probably about 15 or 16.
And you went into your past lives.
And I remember to death. I remember dying. I remember
what happened. Like, who were you? Were you
I don't know who I was. People always ask that. I don't know who I was. I was a man. I was on horseback. I was in the middle of a battle. I knew that had been going on all night. That was early in the morning. I could hear it. I could, feel it. I could smell it. I remember very specifically smelling the blood and the shit and the piss and the sweat and all of that.
And you had like a 17th century Bukowski.
Something like a Bukowski.
Okay.
I think it was much more, Braveheart kind of.
Okay,
situation.
So you ever think about how like it's always?
And then I got an axe in the back. I pulled off the horse, and then I died. And I ascended above and watched my body. And
was it real?
I have no idea, Jamie. It's one of those things that fucks with my head. I can also tell you about out of body experiences that I think I've had, and now I don't know if any of that shit's real.
Okay.
How much of that was real, or how much was that?
How come people don't just remember normal stuff? Like I was,
you're only going to remember traumatic.
I was on
events.
the toilet. What
if there's anything to it, Jamie? If you're going to have any kind of whole track recall, you're only going to remember traumatic events.
Like brushing your teeth.
You're not going to remember sipping tea with mom. That's silly.
Okay.
You're going to remember devastating shit, because that's the stuff that impacts you. And that's the same theology behind hauntings and ghosts and stuff. The idea that spirits stay behind because something traumatic or devastating happened and they can't get over it.
Is that true?
I like to believe. I'm like whatever, one of those X-Files. Remember X-Files? One of them was a believer but wanted to believe. I'm like one of those. I see no proof, and I want proof necessarily, but I do believe. I do believe there are things beyond our understanding and beyond our imagination and beyond our ability to observe.
Do you think in certain cases the doctrine machine counseling helps people?
I think that feeling part of a congregation, a group, a community of some sort helps people.
You should be a politician.
And that's something Scientology.
I just asked you a question saying, does the doctrine machine counseling help people?
I'm trying to say that the things that I would specifically say might be helpful. Sure. Yeah. But really what I think is ultimately what people actually find helpful in the beginning is that community. Scientology is a very clingy community. Once they get you in, they're very on top of you. And some people really want that. Some people have lacked that so much in their lives. They crave it. And so it feels like, that like they're getting better in some way. And love bombing makes you feel better. And having all these people presumably on your side makes you feel better.
Daniel, did I ever tell you what a big being?
It's not real.
What a big being you are? You're such a big being. You're huge.
You understand how condescended I feel when you say that. Fuck you. Fuck you very much.
Okay.
Fuck you very much.
Let me ask you a question, and I don't want you to like kind of leap in with your like kind of like, it could be this, it could be that, of course, whatever. I want you to like give me a very thoughtful, purposeful answer. I want you to intellectually answer the question.
Maybe thoughtful?
Yeah, this question's been plaguing me for a long time. And I want you to give me an answer, not some like, well, everything is true and it's all true simultaneously and it's not true as well. Like, I want you to give me an answer.
But if that's the truth, Jamie, that's the truth.
I know, but on this one, I want you to have like an opinion. Okay. Okay.
Right.
Okay. So this thing that's been plaguing me for a long time is, if you look at the history of the movement and how many people have left it, right? And how long people have kind of been speaking out against what, the whole thing. The one thing is that the people that are speaking out historically have never gotten along. A friend of mine referred to it as a cesspool of infighting. So if you go back to the 80s and Dennis Ehrlich and Artie Lerma, all these guys, right? They're always fighting each other, not getting along. So the people that like, it's always been infighting. Now
is it the same people? It's the same people now.
No. Here we are 40 years later, and it's on YouTube. and then there's these camps, and they're fighting and they're battling, right? You with me? So infighting from the ex-members in a very aggressive, dramatic way. Real. I'm not judging it. I'm just saying.
I don't see it as being quite as dramatic or aggressive.
Okay.
I'm not sure what you mean specifically.
Well,
do you mean Aaron and the foundation, or do you mean Nora and Mitch?
I don't want to get into all of it.
Because then there's also haters that aren't even about this.
All of it. Historically,
there's layers.
It has been rife with infighting for the last 50, 60, 70 years. It's always had infighting. Really,
because that's why my plead for open, honest communication, because the reason there's always been infighting in Scientology communities is because we're all fucking secret keeping little snitchy little bitches. Well,
that was my next question.
So we got to stop being like that. My next
question, would you agree that it's been, like, since people have been leaving, they've been infighting? The people speaking out. Can we agree on that?
I don't think there. I know there is.
Can you agree on anything? Are you wearing a hat?
What kind of hat? Like my brother hat, my content creator hat, my musician hat.
So what is the reason that the ex-members that leave fighting for the last 70 years? Why is there infighting? Why is it constant? Why is it aggressive?
In the rooms of AA, we call it personalities, because people are shitty and people are stupid and people are scared and people forget and people are people. People are human. Third cannibals are still cannibals, right? I don't know. People fight with each other all the time. There's 1,000 different reasons. I don't like the way you looked at, people get mad at me all the time for the way they think I look at them, but I can't hardly even see them. I'm not looking at them. People get mad at all sorts of stupid things.
Is there something about what they've emerged from or the movement that causes this perpetual?
I don't think there's more infighting in this group I don't think there's an unusual amount of infighting.
You think you would find the same amount of infighting like a sewing circle?
Yeah.
Or a book club?
Yeah. And in fact, there is politics in sewing circles and book clubs.
I don't agree. I think that when we're
it wouldn't be the same, because those communities are smaller, not for nothing. But this one is fairly large, and there's also different aspects of it. There's ex-Scientologists, there's ex-Sea Org, there's people who were in it a long time ago, and then there's people who've never been in, and then there's people who were never in but their parents were. There's all sorts of different people in this.
I wish Homie the Clown was right there and he bopped you with a sock puppet.
Homie, don't play that.
Yeah, that way I could get a word in edgewise. Okay, so I think.
I'm gonna do a word count when we're done, Jamie. I guarantee you've talked more than I have.
Okay, so my thought is that it absolutely has to come from it comes out of the movement where we come from, right? If there's one thing that the doctrine teaches.
Well, there's certainly a lot of distrust and paranoia in Scientology people, and that is still a little bit true in ex-Scientology people, I think.
Okay, so no, but here's what I'm getting at. One
Trust
thing
and boundaries, man.
If you have to go to the sign people, they are certain. You're taught to be certain about everything, right? And you're taught to be aggressive and use intention and even use conflict if you have to get stuff done.
Enforced eye contact. Vanessa and I were talking about that. Even that, it's a little thing, but it's aggressive.
Okay, so you train in these routines, these training drills to be able to engage in conflict comfortably, and you're trained to be certain, and you're trained to get stuff done at all costs, right? So when you come out, you have this I'm certain, I know, my way. And then do we come out and even though we think we're free of it, I'm including myself in this.
Yeah.
Are we actually still bound up in this thought process?
I think so. I think a lot of people are. I think a lot
of not listening to each other, of not being right.
Certainly that certainty, and I've said this to you before. I do not trust people who carry themselves with too much certainty. If you don't have any doubt, then I think there's something wrong with you. Donald Trump is a perfect example, and it is, in my opinion, an aspect of malignant narcissism, and that is something. Again, LRH did a fine job of spreading his crazy all over all of us. And that's, he was definitely, if nothing else, a malignant narcissist. So of course, everything is certainty. Everything is absolute. Everything is perfect. That's the frustration for me growing up, was it's so not perfect, clearly, but you had to, it's like living behind the Iron Curtain. You had to pretend like everything was fine, even though you knew it wasn't.
Yeah. Tori Magoo, she calls it, the Truman Show,
I felt, yeah. And there's a disorder called the Truman Show disorder that I almost feel like I have sometimes.
All right, Daniel.
Just real quick to a comment from Crafts, Chats, and Catastrophe. Look up Ravelry Knitting Forum. Huge infighting over freaking yarn art. Okay. So there.
All right, Daniel. Do you have any questions for me?
I do. I just had a really good question for you.
Daniel, why don't we?
Got it.
Daniel,
but wait. There's one more comment here I want to read. It's hard to expect a lot of damaged survivors who are all at different points in their healing journeys to be on the same page. Critical thinking skills, education, therapy, etc. all matters.
Nicely said. Very nicely said, Vanessa LaRose.
Amen, Vanessa.
And I want to comment on that, Vanessa. I also think, ask me this question. Jamie, if you had to sum up Hubbardology in one word, what would it be? Ask me.
Wait, are you asking Vanessa or me?
I'm asking you to ask me that question.
What's the question? If you were to sum up Hubbardology in one word, what would it be?
Yeah. Okay. I'll answer that. Okay. Judgment.
Judgment.
It is the most judgment. It's funny. Like, don't invalidate, don't evaluate. All the doctrine does is invalidate.
Yeah.
So it's the most judgmental group that I've ever been near. All they do is judge each other. The whole doctrine is about judging you. Judge the tone scale, judgment. Upstat, downstat, judgment. Upper conditions, lower conditions, judgment. RPF, judgment. Big whale, judgment. Judgment. The thing is all about judgment. Okay. So, it is enforced judgment. Do you think the fact that the whole milieu of existing in there in judgment is that carrying forward within us in this profound way where we're all bouncing off of each other, judging the crap out of each other, not showing each other grace and compassion, completely unaware of it? All of us, including, especially you.
Am I judging? I like to think that I'm not, but I obviously can't say for certain. And of course, we were all kind of conditioned and brainwashed.
But is this culture of
judgment? Hard to say for certain. What
is that a big part of the infighting? The fact that we just come from this culture of judgment.
Yes, probably. But I think it's also why this is important. Why these streams are important. Why this community is important, so that we can see each other reflected in each other.
Words you never.
I know it. There's the other line is I know it now from all these angles.
Words you never.
That's this. I'm talking about this.
Words you never hear inside the machine. Grace.
No grace given. No grace given. Yeah. Aaron said that one day. I was like, oh,
compassion.
No grace given. No compassion. No sympathy.
Love.
They say it. They might even mean
affinity,
it. But...
dude. They say affinity. It's mechanized.
Yo, you're right. Mechanized.
You're right. Everything is mechanized. Like, affinity is mechanized for love. A person isn't a person. They're a terminal. Everything is trying to make us these like perfect mechanical people, and human beings are just more interesting than that. But I wonder, and again, I'm just thinking out loud while we're talking, is the fact that we just grew up in this culture of judgment just make it so that that's all we can do. Like, we get free of this. We learn to dislike it and hate what happened to us. But we still, there's these behaviors that live in us that we just aren't aware of, that we just keep.
Well, there's a couple of things to remember. We mimic our abusers. Hurt people, stuff like that. The tendency to do the things to other people, or just the tone of voice, like talking to people in a certain kind of way that I didn't even know was a problem until New Yorkers started going, shut the fuck up.
Okay. All right. Okay. So Daniel, do you have any questions for me?
I like this comment from Peggy X. She says, I think Jamie is naturally more into science and fact, while Daniel is naturally more into mystical and philosophical.
I'm way more mystical and philosophical than this motherfucker.
Oh, okay. No. Okay. Oh, no. Right. No. It's very right brain, left brain.
She's basically saying that you're theedy weedy, Daniel. Okay.
I don't think that's what she said.
Yeah. Do you know what theedy weedy is?
No, I don't. But it sounds bad.
It's Hubbard doctrine for sweetness and light. Somebody that can't see bad or evil. Everything is sweetness and light.
But it's negative, right? He doesn't say it
I don't think it's a compliment. I don't think it's a compliment.
It's not a compliment. Yeah. Like Wog's not a compliment either.
Daniel, do you have any questions for me?
I did. I had a very specific question. I've completely forgotten about it. It really pisses me off. Oh no. Okay, I do have a. Maybe that'll come back. But there is something I wanted to throw past that run by you that I think is very funny, and I think that we should tell the Scientologists that L. Ron Hubbard made it to Target 2, and he's discovered that it was a trap. Target 2 is a trap, and that Xenu actually sent us here to protect us, not to not to imprison us, not to punish us, but to protect us from something that's even worse out there.
Oh, that's not really a question.
No, it's not. But what do you think of that? Funny? You think that would work?
I think it'd be really cool if some creative person out there that was listening wrote like a policy,
right,
in Hellron's name, explaining that, if you look at the policies, he was always updating and correcting them with the R's and remodified and revised and all this stuff. So it's like, Xenu
revised, right? Yeah. Target 2.
But turns I never knew when I was, I never knew about any of that Xenu stuff because I don't, because I was not.
What OT level? Where'd you get on the?
I didn't go anywhere. I thank God.
Where did you get on the bridge to total freedom? And I've asked you a couple of times if you ever attested to clear, and you won't answer.
The fact that they called it you go up the bridge is kind of a weird term because like you go across a bridge, like you go up a ladder, right? So wouldn't it be better if you called it the ladder?
Yeah, bridge to total freedom sounds so much more fun though, doesn't it? You ease on down the road. Nobody wants to climb.
All right, well, think about this. I mean, you're a hedonistic guy that's lived a hedonistic life, and the whole goal of this thing is to return to your godlike state without a body, to like be fully aware. And I used to have these like really guilty thoughts when I was younger because I knew that was the goal. And then I'd be eating like a slice of pizza. Right.
And that made you feel guilty for eating
pizza?
Well,
now I'd be like, why would anybody want to not be in a body? You couldn't eat pizza.
Right?
You couldn't kiss a girl. Like why is getting away from pizza and girls?
I think being disembodied gets boring. I think that's right. Isn't that why we started doing this in the first place? I don't think the Xenu
is that something that we want? Do we want to be outside of a body? I mean, isn't there all this amazing stuff inside bodies? We got art and pizza and hot dogs and mustard and ketchup and ice cream and all the different things that we can do in the world to feel alive.
Sex, Jamie, sex. Okay, sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Yeah,
sex, drugs.
This idea, the whole point of this doctrine is to get out of to be disembodied and to be. And I would always be this like leap of faith in my head, like, okay, well, pizza's really awesome. So if getting back to native state is better than pizza, then it's probably really, really good. I mean, I'm gluten-free these days, but you know what I'm saying.
He's gluten-free these days.
I don't eat pizza the way I used to, but yeah.
Tacos. Tacos as witness. Daniel, I'm with her on that one. Tacos, amen.
Do we want to leave our bodies, Daniel?
Well, it depends on how miserable your life experience is, right? I mean, if your body hurts, you want to leave your body. People petition for assisted suicide all the time because they don't want to be in their bodies anymore. Most of my friends suffer from what I call disenfranchised with being human syndrome. And when I was a kid, we were all obsessed with being vampires or being abducted by aliens, anything to not keep being human. And now it's like zombies, went through a zombie thing, and now it's furries as part of that. Like anything to not be a person anymore. I think it really does hurt some of us more than others, to be honest. I don't know. I know why I came here, why I became a human. 1,000 years is but an instant, like that kind of stuff, which is an Asperger's reference. But
are you happy to be alive, Daniel?
No, not really. Not particularly. I've had, we're not supposed to say the word, SUI side ideation since I was 8 years old. I don't know, I don't know. I find a hard time deriving joy out of life, and that's why I sing, because it's the only thing that keeps me okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Do you believe in God?
I believe in a higher power, a sense of balance, in the universe, but I don't think that it's a cognizant thing that's looking out for us or gives a shit. The idea of interventionist God, again, I think is just an ego trip.
Where does art come from? Where does that stuff come from?
The stuff unexpressible.
No, but where does, like, we both make art. The the longer I do it, the more it comes to me fully realized. Like, it used to be I would have to labor over stuff. Now, like when I'm working on something, it almost comes to me in complete form, and I just have to write it down, or
stuff just falls out because you've written and rewritten stuff over and over. Oh, I find I've written and rewritten stuff over and over again.
Where is it coming from? It feels like a religious experience when you make.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
so where is it coming from?
You're not supposed to talk about this stuff, Jamie.
Where is it?
Yeah. It comes. It's the Force. Again, I joke, but also at the same time, Obi-Wan Kenobi's description of the Force in the first Star Wars movie, I think, says it all. It's it's an energy that moves through us all, and there's an existential notion of God that defines it as the collection of all of us. We are all each individually spiritual beings ourselves, and we never really touch, like molecules, like they never really touch, but they bond together in this way to make something bigger than themselves.
Are you afraid of death?
I don't think so. I want to say no, but I don't know. Once you get there, it's different. I have faced death. I have faced like severely like dead, life and death situations, and found myself not to be afraid as I thought I would be anyway.
Ask me the worst part of being human, what that is.
For you, what's the worst part of being human, Jamie?
No, not for everybody, not just for me.
All right, for everybody then, if you want to speak universally.
I think the worst part of being human is not being able to take it with you, whether it's human relationships, emotion, connection, art, all the things you've made, because I make things. That's my wealth, maybe my relationships and friendships is a form of. That's what I value more than money, even though, what does Woody Allen say? Having money is great, if only for financial reasons. Okay. But say you're Jeff Bezos and you got $275 billion and you're in your 60s. Like, that you're going somewhere, and that 275 billion ain't going with you. Right. Like, so to me, this idea that we live these lives and we accumulate relationships and love and loss and money, and whether it's whatever the form of wealth is, right? And then all of that accumulation, like I work so hard every day on making all this stuff, and then it's all just going to go away. Like that bums me out.
But it's not. It's funny you say that, because that, I think, is kind of in part the reason we make art, is to leave something behind, because it doesn't go away when you go away. You and I both.
If I got to stay behind and watch him.
No, but that's not why you make it. You don't make art for yourself. You make it. Well, you do, but you don't make it so you can sit around. I don't make music so I can sit around and listen to it. I make it so other people want to.
Yeah, but I enjoy watching them consume it.
Okay, but that's a different thing.
Okay, so
also, what I think is funny about this is like that it's a capitalistic thing, this idea that you're supposed to build up wealth and accumulate things, and then that fear of losing those things, though. Wait, let me finish. The fear of losing those things is what drives some of the worst of human behavior, in my opinion.
No, but I was using wealth as a form of relationships, and
I know you're talking in a broader sense.
Yeah, like wealth is different things for different people. Like, I could have $1 billion in my account. That really wouldn't make me feel great. Okay, what would make me feel great is the next thing I'm making. Okay,
well,
so it's different for different people. But my point is, like, I don't fantasize about dollar bills and mansions. I fantasize about the next thing that I kind of want to make. That's what my mind is on, and I get it keeps me going. It's the closest thing that I come to God. It's bigger than me, especially now where the things kind of come to me formed. Okay, like, I don't know, where does it come from? Okay,
I talk in those terms. You tap into a thing.
I know.
You tap into the source.
To me, that is wealth.
I imagine it as a giant circle of.
To me, that is wealth. To somebody else, you might.
No, I mean the art. I mean,
no, but I meet other people like I'll meet like a mom or a dad, and like their family. They don't care about how much money they have, even if they're rich. They don't care about art, no matter how much they have. All they care about is their family unit, and that to them is what drives them and fuels them, and then it goes away. So here's a question, since you're the philosophical, mystical one. Okay, which is basically a euphemism. She called you an idiot. Oh.
That's not
Come
what
on,
that means.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Come on.
Paging
Come
L. Ron
on.
Hubbard.
All right.
I'm sorry. L. Ron
No,
Hubbard. He wants
no,
his shit
no,
talking back.
come on. We kid. So here's the question, Daniel. Say we could just keep on going. Like in Dune, like the Harkonnens. Like say we could we have the technology and we could live pretty much immortally. Like they solve aging, and we could just keep all our money and keep all of our art and keep all the people we know and just live forever. Say we could live forever, Daniel.
Wait, stop.
Oh,
no, I don't want to live forever. There's a Who Wants to Live Forever? There's a Kurt Vonnegut story about a future in which nobody dies because they figured out how to make people immortal, and it's cheap and easy and everybody can get to it. It's made of mud and dirt or something. So everybody lives forever, and there's horrible overpopulation, and the world is a mess. And it features this one family, and there's this infighting in the family because they're all plotting the death of the eldest person in the family because the eldest person in the family gets the bed. And so they're all trying to wait, let me finish the story. So at the end of the story, there's a whole kerfuffle. I think they do kill Grandpa. I forget, but they all end up in jail, and in jail, it's so much better.
Okay.
So really, honestly, who wants to live forever?
I do. That whole story is a bunch of bullshit.
Okay? Hey, Kurt Vonnegut's not bullshit.
Okay, I love Kurt Vonnegut. Okay, but say you could. I mean, Harrison Bergeron is one of the most important stories I've ever read. It's one of the stories that freed me, and I love. I love Kurt Vonnegut.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, but
I like him for his cynicism.
I would totally live. I want to live forever. I just want to keep going. I'm really angry about the fact that I'm, finally making all this cool stuff, and then I don't get to be around for another 3, 4, 5,000 years and enjoy it.
Well, no, you get to come. You get to come right back. You get to be the kid.
No, I don't
reading the book that you read.
I don't.
Or you wrote.
So say, Daniel. So say all of a sudden in our lifetime they developed a technology that could do two things. One, you could get some weird stem cell drip that would return you to like 25 years old forever.
Here,
okay?
let me
let me finish the question. Okay, wizard. Let me finish the question, wizard. Okay. So you could go back to like your body. You would have no addictions. You didn't need cigarettes, drugs, alcohol. Reset. Yeah, you could reset.
That was the appeal of becoming a vampire.
Okay, so say you could, exactly. So say you could reset and live forever. Would you do it?
Okay, this goes back to the nature. Wait, let me tell. I gotta say this. Shut up. You asked me a fucking question. No, it's not.
Okay.
Would I do that? Probably not. And here's why.
Oh, you're an idiot.
This goes back to the nature of the universe. God. Hear me out, Jamie. This goes back to the nature of the universe, what I said about balance. Whenever you find a thing that adds to your life, somewhere in the universe, you're taking from somebody else's. That's how it works. Every time we have an advancement, there's somebody gets shit on for it. Somewhere, something gets polluted.
So say nobody got hurt. There was no butterfly effect or weird Benjamin Button shit. Okay, it was just you live forever. Sure. Okay, you just live forever. Okay?
If there were no consequences, I suppose, but I don't think that's a possibility.
Okay, but say
that's not how things work.
Okay, but say there were no consequences. Okay, all right, maybe there's a little consequence, like every time for every 5,000 years you live, they take a tiny slice of David Miscavige's flesh.
That's not a sacrifice.
Okay, no, there was no.
And he hasn't got very much to give, Jamie. That would go really quickly.
Okay, so
he's a tiny little man.
What perpetuated it was butterflies. So you kill it for every 1,000 years you live, you kill a butterfly. Okay.
Oh, I don't want to kill butterflies.
I know. I would.
I remember when kids used to just like.
No, so Daniel, if there was no consequence and you could reset your physical state to be like ideal, and you could keep all your art and all your relationships, and you could live forever, and you could reset your life, and you could never be in Washington Square Park, and you could be living on the Upper East Side in one of those swank places overlooking the Hudson.
No, here's the stop. Here's the problem.
And you're in a hot tub
at night.
Here's the problem with your scenario. Here's the problem with your scenario.
Like, right,
if I could stop talking, you motherfucker. If I had $1 billion and I didn't have to change, but if I had $1 billion, I would be fundamentally a different person. Like that would not only would have making $1 billion make me different than who I am, having $1 billion would make me different than who I am. I I don't want to die in this exaggerated utility closet, but I don't want to live forever, and I wouldn't want to be Jeff Bezos.
Where do you want to die if you don't want to die in the utility closet?
Somewhere nicer than this.
Ask me where I want to die.
Where do you want to die?
I don't, bitch.
Oh, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to live forever, Jamie. I haven't had who wants. Okay,
you could.
I haven't enjoyed life. You know what I love is chocolate cookies, simple things, but they're not worth living for. Okay, say what? Start over.
25-year-old Adonis. You got a 5,000 square foot apartment overlooking the Hudson with a hot tub.
That comes with something. That doesn't exist in this universe, Jamie.
Yeah, but
it doesn't exist in this universe.
But it say that it did. Would you?
Then we're living on. Then that it's too broad a hypothetical.
If it was before you, and
it is outside the realm of reality.
Would you seize
Ask me questions that exist in the realm of reality.
If you could, I would seize it.
Because you're Caesar. You're Caesar. I'm not Caesar.
The difference between you and me, my man.
I think so.
Do you think that if you had a greater existence, like you had wealth and means and you had #1 hits on the radio?
Yeah, sure. If I had success and had some money, I would be I would be less scared.
But
I would be less anxious. I would be, but then you find other things.
Would you be? Because I know a lot of people with tons of money and tons of fame and tons of success.
Right, but that's what I was saying. The more stuff you acquire, but wait, that's exactly the more stuff you acquire, the more you get preoccupied with holding on to the stuff that you've acquired. That's why they say when you're young, you're liberal. If you're not liberal, you're heartless. But when you get older, if you're not conservative, you're dumb. Because as you get older, the assumption is you accumulate stuff. Let me finish a goddamn sentence, Jimmy. As you get older, you accumulate more and more stuff. And then the preoccupation of protecting that stuff becomes more important than being a good person.
I don't know.
And that's the difference between liberals and conservatives.
I do have my friend Ray who says this about everything. First, it's a cause. Then it's a business. Then it's a racket. He sees everything like that.
Yeah,
and
that's a famous quote.
I used to think he was crazy. But the older I get, the more I feel like that's true. All right, so Daniel, I'd like to.
I have something to say about that because that's absolutely true. And this is in the moral of how money corrupts. First, it's a cause until you start making some money. Then it becomes a business, and then somebody gets greedy about making more money than they're supposed to, and then it becomes a racket. Absolutely.
If someone offered you $1 billion tomorrow and you could move into like a swank penthouse like George Jefferson, would you take it?
Well, describe to me the reality of a scenario in which that would come with no strings attached, Jamie.
There's aliens watching the planet. They have all this special technology. They're able to formulate bank accounts with their technology. They give you $1 billion and they just want to give it to you out of the kindness of their hearts.
And the IRS ain't going to say nothing to me about that?
Tax-free.
What's the question? Would I take $1 billion tax-free from aliens?
No strings attached.
I guess.
What would you do with it, Daniel?
Buy a home.
Where?
I want to live in Edinburgh, Scotland. But I don't know.
In a castle?
No. You know the Fringe Festival?
Yeah.
I want to be a venue for the Fringe Festival. I want to have a place where I can be a venue during the Fringe Festival.
Like Baby Reindeer?
I don't know Baby Reindeer. Is that a place?
Yeah, it's a TV show. Do you have any any questions for me?
Yeah, I did have a question.
Okay.
Did you, Jamie, and how did you feel about it if you did you lie to the auditor?
I mean, there were times where I tried not to confess something that I felt guilty of.
Because I was talking about it with Vanessa. Somebody else had talked about lying to the auditor, and it never crossed my mind to lie to the auditor. I never thought I could get away with it.
If you believe in the machine, you can. But I remember somebody really close to me used to say when we were kids that he thought the machine was bullshit and he could trick it anytime he wanted to. And I just wouldn't even go there in my head.
I remember somebody saying that to me once too also. who's
Yeah.
on in this audience sometimes. In fact, an old friend from LA, and I remember getting really freaked out by it. I was like, oh, I don't want to, yeah, and in the exact sort of stick your head in the sand kind of way, and I don't want to hear it, because I didn't never even crossed my mind, and I wouldn't have ever thought I could get away with it. Never mind what I've ever tried.
Then let me ask you.
And also, that's a difference between private and public. Like when you're public and you're paying for it, you don't lie to the auditor. You know what I mean? Only Sea Org members lie to the auditor, I think, but I don't know.
Do you think that what your role is when you were, if say you were in the Inner Navy and you spent 30 or 40 years in there, do you think that or 20 years, do you think that your role in there has an effect on what you should or shouldn't be allowed to do when you get out?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Tell me, so say I was like up at the desert compound and I had like,
you find yourself, I think you find yourself, I think you find yourself asking permission to exist in a way that the regular world doesn't understand. Like Vanessa talked about when she started going to school and she would ask to use go to the bathroom, and it was college, and they were like, yeah, you can just go to the bathroom.
Say I was super high up.
But she didn't know that. She didn't know that she could just go.
Say I was super high up in international management, like CMO International, Commodore's Messenger Org, which is like one of the most senior things.
Yes, like, yeah.
And I was wearing a Navy uniform in the desert compound. And I was there for 30, 40 years, doing the bidding of the
munchkin,
the little guy.
The little Napoleon in charge.
Did I come out and then saying, should I? There's a lot, there's debate out here about whether that should disqualify you to be on like a charity that helps victims, or does it matter? Like you came out, you feel good, you want to help people. Doesn't matter what you did, just go help people.
I think it matters, especially if the people. Especially if you were involved in the thing that the people asking for help are escaping, especially when you used to be in charge of that. And now you're on the outside being a good guy, presumably because why? I don't know. Whatever you're asking. Do you find it odd that a group of those people would band together and supplant themselves around victims? Is that strange or not? Yeah, I think that's strange.
And what is the motivation?
I mean, I don't know. Strange presumes there's a comparison to match it to, and I'm not sure
Say I gave you two motivations. Okay. What do you think the motivation for a bunch of those people that were formerly CMO International and they come out and now they're a main group all banded together helping people, and it's strange. Why is that not okay? Why is that not a genuine motivation? Why are they?
I don't know about their motivation. What I see so far is a lack of tools. Like the people who I've encountered or interacted with, and the interactions I've bore witness to when it comes to who we're talking about, the foundation who dare not speak its name. They don't seem to have any like concept of trauma, of how to deal with or talk to trauma victims. They don't seem to have any sympathy, as they were taught not to, and that's a problem. They don't have any compassion, as they were taught not to, and that's a problem.
They have mental health advice.
They have their own mental health. Oh, well, I do that. I'm sure. Okay, I don't know that, and I have interacted with this foundation that dare not speak its name. I did not know they had any mental health professionals on staff. Nobody told me that.
Staff, but they have advisors,
Okay. Well, what I've seen though, in terms of like things in writing, don't seem to reflect that.
And what about this concept of, there's been a lot of talk about this waiver, that you have to sign this thing saying you'll never disparage them or whatever. What do you think about that?
That to me is fascistic. And fascism that's the worst thing I can call a person. I call people dirty names all the time, but if I call you fascist, I'm really mad at you. That to me is fascistic, and I don't like that. And that to me is Scientological. That's Scientology. That's tit for tat, and I don't like that. Tit for tat, and I don't like that.
Okay. Yeah, I go back and forth on it. I wonder.
Yeah, here, Crafts asked the question I keep asking. Have they made amends? Have they been deprogrammed? Have they had therapy? I don't think so.
Well, some of these people have done incredible things like that help. They've done news stories that helped me free my mind. They've done television shows. They've done all these things to whistleblow and talk about the things that have been in there that have been incredibly helpful and
Leah
incredibly
Remini.
useful.
Leah Remini did a TV show. I know that. And she certainly seems to have worked a lot on deprogramming.
No, but she wasn't inside. I'm talking about the people that were inside.
She wasn't.
But when you have,
but that's what I'm saying, though. These people that we're talking about get a lot of credibility because of somebody else. Leah Remini brings this whole conversation, their aspect of where they are, credibility because of her. I don't know that that the person we're not supposed to talk about, I don't know that he would be who he is. He wouldn't. I know that he would. I'm certain he wouldn't be in the position he's in if it weren't for Leah Remini's endorsement. And the only thing that I think made that work on the TV show is her. I think she's the one that made that work, not him.
Yeah, but that's an opinion. But like, you know,
yeah, uninformed.
But if a person like that comes out and does all this good, does a TV show, you know, helps people with does all this stuff to help people, isn't that enough to free them of what they've done, or no?
Oh, well, I don't know. That's not really for me to say. I don't feel as directly abused by these people as some do. What I want to know is if they understand what they've done. I want to know if they understand how much they've been conditioned. I want to know if they understand how much they're still acting like Scientologists.
Well, what if I was one of them and I said, well, listen, I want to help people. I know I did a lot of bad things, but I want to be. I feel like I can continue to help people.
Well, I haven't heard. Look, you just said it. You just said it, Jamie. What's missing from the conversation is I know I did some really bad things. I haven't heard any of these people say that.
Okay, but then I have, and then they say to you, you know, if I were to get into all the specifics of what I did, then it would just be the endless can of worms. And
no, I don't want specifics. Then I want to know that they have owned up to their own shit. And this is AA talking. That's what AA is all about.
Yeah, but you know what's flawed about that way of thinking, Daniel? What? It's like when you meet people that say, you know, honesty. I just value honesty more than anything. When anyone ever says that to me,
that's because you were raised in Scientology, Jamie. And when they said that to you, they were lying. People say that and actually mean it.
No. Yeah, but I think that as human beings, and I include myself in this, because I am a human being, we lie to ourselves.
Yeah.
So this idea of when people are obsessed with honesty only means something if we're being honest with ourselves. Well, and most of the time when we're lying with ourselves, if we lie to ourselves, we all do it on some level. We're not aware that we're doing it. Right. So
and that's again why I like the AA stuff, because AA reminds you of that all the time, that we are not reliable narrators and that you must be rigorously honest, that honesty is a thing you have to work at and put effort into. That's one of the reasons I like doing these online. It keeps us honest. You can't say one thing and then say you said another thing later if everything's on a string. That's one of the reasons I like doing it this way. Is because it keeps us honest, and because none of us are reliable narrators, Jamie. None of us.
Yeah, and that's really interesting to me. So I think it'd be more important than to be obsessed with honesty. It'd be more maybe to be obsessed with rationality, logic, approximating what's actually happening would be a better way of describing a value. Whenever people say that they have this huge honesty value, it makes me nervous, because most of the time when people say that, they are the kind of person that lies to themselves. But let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
You know, you talked about AA. Are people in AA victims? And is being a victim bad?
No, people in AA are not victims. And I don't think being I don't know. It depends what you mean. There are people who are victimized, and that's not bad. That's not on them. But there are people who play victim, and that's not so much fun.
Do you think that, Hellron, he kind of
Hellron, that's good. Hellron. Yeah, write that one down.
Okay. Can you write a song called Hellron?
Probably not. No, I'm trying really hard not to reference too directly. It's all indirect reference.
I love that last song you sang. We should record it.
I'm going to.
Yeah, I'll take all your publishing. Scientologist. No, but in Hellron's way, he used victim as a pejorative, right? So
because a victim was a fact.
I know, but do you think that Hellron using the word victim as a pejorative, as a negative connotation to describe somebody, that was done intentionally, because then They're easier to control.
Yeah, because then when you are being victimized and you go, "Hey, this isn't right,"
They can
no,
point
you're
at you
just
and
being
go,
a victim.
yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Do you think he was aware that he did that, or do you think it was just like
Yes.
subliminal?
Yes. That's the question, right? The big question is always his intent. What was his intent? What was his intent? We don't know. None of us really know. But I do think that he figured that out. I think that that's what he was doing on the Apollo mission, was figuring out how to control people. And I think that maybe in his mind, he thought it was for a greater good, like survival. Like he keeps saying that on a boat like that, there's, you gotta get together. You got all hands on deck and all that shit to get things done, to survive that experience.
We should develop our own former member kind of like ranking system to describe people. Like, like like if you're in the royal family, you can kind of you can be Sir Daniel Mustard. Right. We should develop a ranking system for ex-members and give out ranking and awards for ex-members. And then you can
more exclusivity, exclusivity, Jamie. We don't need more of this.
Acknowledgement for job well done. And you could be, with all the music you've made and the joy you bring to people's hearts, you could be Commander Mustard.
No, again, I don't want that. But I wouldn't want that. I do not want to be put on a pedestal in any kind of way.
I'll just call you
and Commander. I don't want to live forever.
But I just want to call you, you're Commander Mustard, and you're going to live forever, and you're going to love it. All right. But you're not going to live in that apartment in Brooklyn. You're going to be on the Upper West Side, East Side, overlooking the Hudson.
Witness always has great things to say. The intention of L or H is hard for everyone. Super twisted.
All right. So should we open this up to questions?
Yeah, of course. Well, yeah, I can go through these comments here. There's quite a few.
All right. Let's open.
Witness is also talking about, I was talking about, the whole like coming clean stuff. And you're right, in private or in the rooms of AA is very effective. I think all ex-Scientologists should go through recovery. I really do.
Is there really such thing as an ex-Scientologist though?
I'm wondering, Jamie. I'm wondering.
I mean, that's like they give us all labels. Like they came up with that label. Why would you take it?
Well, what you're talking about, the questions you're asking about, these residual things that still are in us. The cleared cannibal or the ex-Scientologist still cannibal, like there's a lot of us who still do this stuff, still think this way.
I'm not above it.
I know.
I think that, I'm always looking out for those blind spots within myself, and I constantly find them.
Yeah.
Find them.
And you got it rigorous and diligent. You got to keep looking. You got to keep revising. It never really stops. And it's insidious. There's a good word. It's insidious. It creeps into your DNA.
Okay. What is a DB?
A degraded being?
Yeah. What is a DB?
Me. Didn't we do this one already? Me. I'm the DB.
Are DBs real?
Are they just as described? Sure. Yeah.
Is a DB lesser than?
No.
So you're saying a DB, a bum, has the same value on Earth as Jeff Bezos?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Because I save on shipping. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's answer questions. Okay. Maybe the audience can tell us. Okay.
I save on shipping, he says.
Yeah, everything's free.
I just wanted to say some shout outs here to Fat Grammy, Texas Audit, Vanessa LaRose, CC, Crafts Chats and Catastrophe,
and
Peggy Exer.
Whitney, who keeps giving us really cool comments.
Witness. Yeah. Witness is my
Witness is Whitney. She's cool.
Oh, okay. You know Whitney? You know her?
Yeah. I know her. Yeah. I've interacted. Yeah, I know her.
Oh, but you know that she's Whitney? All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've talked to her. She's really cool.
Okay. She always has great stuff on. She always comments great. What are we using as a normal baseline? I don't know what that question pertains to, but it's a good one. Normal is, of course, a relative term. What is normal for one is not normal for another. And remember, normal just means ordinary. It doesn't necessarily mean better.
Can I tell you something that happened in our last show that was kind of amazing?
What?
So remember when you did that first interview, someone sent in a question and they had like an email and they were like, whatever happened to Jamie, but you and Aaron didn't say anything because I was like, please don't talk about me. Right?
Yeah, I vaguely, yeah.
And then you sent me the email. You forwarded it to me.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Okay. Do you remember this?
And you mentioned this last time, and then she came on the thread and was like, that was me. That was me.
And I know. And
we missed it. We missed her comment.
Yeah. So that person and I eventually reached out to me. And it turns out that I had like a really they actually reached out to me again after our last chat, and I just kind of want to comment on this person and what they said.
Can you tell us her username?
I can't remember her username.
Okay, I wanted to remember it too, and I forgot.
But I thought it was something Mama. It was something Mama.
Oh, yeah, I think it was
something Mama. Yeah, and she'll probably watch this. And what was so profound about that is I ended up speaking to that person. She told me last week when I mentioned her, she got teary-eyed, and I didn't really say anything about her other than just to acknowledge that she existed and that she was somebody that was one of my caretakers as a baby. So when I was in what was called the Asho Day House behind Tommy's Burgers, which was a poverty-stricken hovel that they were raising us in, and she was able to kind of fill in some of the gaps.
They were storing you.
Yeah, storing me. But it was really bad. Like her and her father ended up moving out because of the poverty. And her father was a hardcore believer, but couldn't stand. The poverty was so disgusting in that building in downtown LA, he couldn't stand being there. But she was 7 and I was maybe an infant, 12 months old. So she was like, I had this kind of 7 or 8.
And you see, she's carried around some sort of undue guilt.
No, I don't even think it's guilt.
Responsibility or something. She's relieved to know that you're okay.
No, this is so crazy and it's so emotional because I feel like at some point I need to acknowledge this whole interaction that I had with this woman because it is one of the most powerful things that I've ever experienced in my life. And I have not talked about it anywhere. I haven't even talked about it privately. So I'm going to share something very private, very personal with you. Okay. So this woman told me when I finally reached out to her, and that she had not been able to get me out of her head for over 40 years. Like that experience of me as an infant when she was 7, I'd stayed in her head for almost half a century. She was wondering what had happened to me. And this is really emotional because I was completely thrown away and abandoned. And to find out that there was a little girl that was assigned to taking care of me when I was an infant that cared for me enough 40 to 50 years later that she was still thinking about me. And I never left her mind.
And you see how much that affects her. Like as horrible as that situation was for you as an infant, there's a whole nother level of the whole nother person being abused in that scenario in her, because she's been given this undue level of responsibility. You're a billion-year-old soul. You can take care of an infant, no problem. But she didn't really know what she was doing. She was probably nervous as hell about the whole thing, and then is carried with her this worry, this concern.
I could call her and tell her this, and I've thought about it a lot over the last 8 or 9 months, but I haven't had the guts to call her and say it. So I'll say it here because she told me she got emotional when I referenced her last week. So I'll just come out and say the whole way of how I feel about it. But I can't tell you what it meant for me, Daniel, to be thrown away like that and to have this little girl. And she has all these specific stories, of how we were treated. And even good moments, she took me.
And she expresses more concern than both of us.
Yeah, no, but she took me to, she was my caretaker on a rare outing to the Queen Mary when I was a toddler, maybe 18 months old. And to have been completely thrown away like that, and then to go through everything I've gone through and, overcome, I'm still pretty broken, but I've overcome a lot of stuff.
You have.
Yeah. And, to know that there was somebody that gave a shit all back then, that was valid back then. It's ridiculous. It's so emotional for me to think about. I push it out of my head. So I know that person will listen to this, and I just want to tell her thank you, and that there are no words to express what that means to me.
I want to thank her too.
All right, did it. And I'm sorry for you. And I'm sorry I haven't called and said that to your face because I should.
I'm sure she'll appreciate it either way.
Yeah,
but maybe this is the way we do it. This is the love language we have.
Yeah, so that it reframed a lot of it for me. I don't know why, Daniel, but why? Because let me say something, because this is the nature of abuse. When you are a child who's being abused, you do either because you're told or for whatever reason, you convince yourself that you deserve it or at some level. And so to find out
in hindsight that maybe you weren't so disposable after all. You know what I mean? Like, and even somebody there at the time knew better, even though the people that should have known better didn't.
Yeah, there's something
But
about
she did. She did. A 7-year-old knew better. And that means something. Because you didn't deserve that. You didn't deserve that. You were not disposable, Jamie.
Yeah, it's
you
powerful.
were never disposable, and they were wrong.
And I spent so many years in that condition of being thrown away. And to know that at the beginning of that journey, it's like that song by Portishead, Roads, you know?
I don't know the song, but I know
Portishead. Can anybody see we got a war to fight?
Oh.
How does it feel this moment? Like at the beginning, when that person knew me, I was entering upon what would be a physiological and psychological siege upon my mind and body. I had no idea what was coming. And to this idea that someone cared in the midst of that abandonment, there was a purity there. It's given me, I don't know, it's just been very powerful form of catharsis for me. And
I can see that.
And something really beautiful. It's hope, you know, and what was it? You know, well, no, just hope for humanity, hope for, you know, right. And you know, what did she have that the older people didn't have? She was too young to have been indoctrinated.
She was innocent. She was innocent.
Yeah, she wasn't desensitized by the counseling, the auditing, which desensitizes you. By, you know, you have to force to deny yourself, to deny your body to be in those counseling sessions. In the training drills and non-reactionary training, you have to deny your body.
On that, you know, they work to remove creativity and critical thought.
Yeah. So to see that there's somebody that young, that's whatever, knew that I imprinted upon them before I was even a sentient communicator. I don't know. I just can't tell you what that's meant for me. And I should probably call that person and thank them.
You found it, you know, we were not seen at all.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
She did.
Yeah.
She saw you. She saw you.
Yeah. There you go. And then I had another, 20 years of being invisible, except for a 3-year break in Eugene, Oregon. I had the next 20 years, I wouldn't be seen. Okay. Again. So I went from then not being seen. There was a couple people that saw us, there was a couple people, but Beverly, that guy that started the Boy Scout troops, Scott Foster, there were people that saw us. There weren't very many. Kenny Bell, who ran the archives, there were some people, I don't know which of them are still in or whatever, but they're great people. But all right. So questions, or are we done? Can I get the hell out of here now that you've exhausted me?
Yeah, feels are exhausting. I don't know. I was looking comments here. Witnesses just, we pull in. She says she pulls in her niece for a hug. So we already read that one, actually. I don't know. I'm not sure how much I go through these and I try to look at them as we go, but I don't know. Any burning questions? Any burning desires?
Yeah. Does anybody? You want to ask for questions?
I know, ask questions now. I don't want to go. There's a long stroll here. A long scroll, rather. Somebody accuses you of being invalidated and fritzing everything Daniel says. My goodness, Jamie.
I don't know. I'm horrible.
No, it's hilarious. A lot of people thought this was. Let him answer that one, Jamie. See. Or who knows? Okay. Love is all that matters, says Lisa P. I don't know. There was some really cute comments here earlier, but I can't find them now.
Does anybody want to ask any questions before we go?
Oh yeah, right. Is there any other questions?
Before we go?
Who knows if we can ever get him to do this again? There we go. If I had $1 billion, I'd invest it in finding a cure for cancer. Yeah. What if you could live forever, but it cost you your ability to be creative, Jamie?
Oof, dude, I'd probably take the bullet.
Oh, you would. You would live
Yeah.
forever and not be able to write another thing or sing another
No, I probably wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't do it.
There we go. If ice cream and pizza were healthy, I wouldn't mind living forever. That's one of those great things in that movie with defending your life. In the afterlife, you can eat anything you want. You don't get full and you don't get fat.
Yeah, John Travolta made that movie about the fallen angel, about he's like eating pizza and having sex and all this stuff. Like Michael. Yeah. It's ironic that he made that film. Yeah, it's a really good movie.
It's a cute movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. It's
there we go.
It's not Barry Lyndon.
There, Selma says she loves this banter.
All right.
The hypothetical questions are hilarious.
Yeah. Well, we have to examine the universe. That's what we do.
That's and that's what this is. That's what this is. I'm trying to, I think we're all still trying to figure it out. I am, that's no, I have a lot of recovery fronts though. It's not just born in a cult.
I think human existence is by the time you're 80, you finally figure out your childhood and then you die. That's the cruel joke. You spend 80
so maybe the lesson is to listen better to our elders.
Yeah. And that's another interesting thing. That's a big problem with Western society, especially American society, is that we don't have elders. In these Mediterranean families, in these kind of Eastern families, they live together. And elders, when you grow old, they're the celebrated, revered people.
That's a big thing that's often missing.
And we see old people in America or even Western Europe. They're like, oh man, what are you still doing here? You're just a reminder of what I'm going to become. I wish you'd get the F out of here. And that's a huge problem with American culture is we don't celebrate.
It's unfortunate. We don't appreciate
age.
Yeah,
and
but also you look at the politics right now. Like the politics right now is very much millennials against boomers. And the millennials and the Gen Zers are very disappointed in the boomers.
Well, the boomers,
I think they've completely given up on the very notion of the wisdom of agent experience because the boomers have been so summarily disappointing on that front. So it's
all right, Daniel. Is that a wrap? You got me to be emotional.
Yeah, I know, right? My goodness, mustards cry. This is what it sounds like when mustard cries.
Maybe I'm just like my mother.
Oh, she never satisfied.
Maybe I'm just like my father.
You had a father? What was that? Who was that?
What it sounds like.
Did we ever meet that guy? Somebody wanted to know. Oh, here we go. Crafts is asking if we had, I know you wanted to go, but if we had connection with each other while we were kids. Not really, no.
Well, come on. We had
you would remember better than me because I was a kid and you were
I would see you at the Shangri Lodge, and I would go in.
He would see me, but I didn't see him.
No, well, when I was a little baby, there were times in a pinch where your older sisters would babysit for me under extreme circumstances. So, especially, I don't know if I'm allowed to say their names.
Kelly, Wendy, and Robin. Nothing sacred on my channel.
Especially Robin. Wait,
what especially Robin? Was she watching?
No, yeah, they all did. So they had an affinity for, affinity, Jesus. They had an affection for me because they knew me when I was young. So when I would come around when you guys were in the manager's apartment, and then Robin and I hung out when I came back to LA when I was 16. She was older. 20. She was early, and then we went to the LA street scene together with some other friends, and we saw Jermaine Stewart. We don't have to take our clothes off
to have a good time.
We just need to
dance and party all night. Drink some cherry wine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Fishbone. Fishbone performed. So I hung out with her. So
I know she was cool. You have said this to me before about how cool Robin was, and Robin was cool.
Yeah,
Robin was mad cool. Robin was mad cool. I'll give her that. She's still a cool old lady.
Yeah, your mom was out there. It was like she was like always kind of walking around, swatting at like imaginary flies.
Wait, what? What did you do? That was the body thetans. She was trying to get rid of her body thetans.
Yeah.
She was obsessed, Jamie.
Yeah, so she was a little odd. I'd lived in that apartment for 6 months. My stepfather would take us into the dorms. 5 of us lived in a 100 square foot apartment with a hot plate and a TV. It was heaven compared to the hot box. And So sometimes I would wander into the manager's apartment. I was probably 9.
She
And
wasn't in the
then,
manager's apartment back then, though. She
no,
wasn't. She didn't become the manager until I was like 12 or 13. We lived
but
in
there was
101. We lived in the front-facing apartment, right in the
well, maybe I
front.
don't know the man. I'm just thinking that big apartment. It was bigger than
Yeah,
the other
it
apartment.
was. It was a fairly large
I'm
apartment.
calling it
The
the manager's apartment. I don't know.
101 was the apartment you were in.
Yeah, but we were like in a tiny studio, and so when I walked in there, it felt like a palace. It was huge. Okay, and it directly faced. You could see the back entrance to the Chateau Elise from there.
Yeah.
And there were times when I was 16. There's probably another time when I was like 26.
Wait, when you say the back entrance, what do you mean? Because I think of the back entrance as the front entrance.
Maybe you're right. Maybe it's the front, but I always think everybody comes in the other way. And but it probably makes more sense from that side. But I just remember being 16, and then maybe when I came back when I was 26, I would like be there and say I found myself in a situation where I was on the front entrance or in the back, what I call the back. I was facing the Shangri Lodge. Okay. And then I would look over there and I go, oh, Danny's there.
Yeah.
And then I'd go, John Mustard's here.
Yeah.
And they never see each other. I even
and never the twain shall meet.
Yeah, I remembered having a conversation with John when he was out there, when he was smoking a cigarette in all black with his armed man, and about there and talking to him and staring at the Shangri Lodge while we were talking to him and having it enter my head how effing weird it is. But as I always like to say, Danny, if you want to make a save the world omelet, you might have to crack a few skulls.
Is that something you always say?
I say it a lot.
I've never heard you say that before.
I say it when people ask me, what was it like?
Well, also, you understand that John was getting reprimanded for talking to us. He was getting scolded for talking to me.
I'm just saying that it's a pretty bizarre situation. Like I was just watching House of Dragon, and in there, Lord Corlys, he has these illegitimate sons that he kind of denies. And I had this thought where I was watching, oh, this is ridiculous. Like he wouldn't like look out for his illegitimate sons who were like working on the ships that he's the wealthy commander of. That's crazy. And then I instantly went to, oh my God, Danny lived across 50 feet from John for 15 years where John was working and
the manager of the hotel.
Yeah.
He was the manager of the hotel for a long time.
Yeah. If you got it, if you're going to save the world, you may have to
toss a few babies aside.
Yeah. You may have to crack a few babies.
Toss a few infants overboard.
Yeah. It's the greater good. The greater good.
What does it matter? If you're just going to reincarnate, what does it matter?
Yeah. That's the other thing is, and that's the other thing that Slimos do is they
Hell Ron Hubbard and the Slimos.
They'll, and I've really felt that with my mother, that she, you've lived a billion lifetimes. What does it matter? Like that was her vibe. And then anyway.
If you want to talk about how much this fucks kids up, there's one that fucks you up no matter what you're.
Yeah. So the thing that's what I'd like to sum up. When we grow up with the poverty and we get this indoctrination, and then you have somebody that grows up in a wealthy family with the same indoctrination, are we that much worse off because we're poor and it's a little bit more abusive, or is that indoctrination messing us up equally?
I think that indoctrination is messing up everybody. I think being poor just makes everything worse.
I mean, do you think that being told you're a billion, you're a trillion-year-old fallen god in a baby body, the lack of emotion, you're being treated like an adult. Do you think that's something that if you grew up in a wealthy Scientology family, that would make you, give you ideation that would that be equally as crazy making?
I don't know. The comparing trauma, I don't know how to do. Equally, I don't know.
No,
wait. But it is going to be crazy making. Also, all of our parents were Sea Org people, so that's awesome.
I know, but on a scale of trauma, would you consider that type of indoctrination of an infant or a toddler or a 5-year-old or a 7-year-old or a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old a severe form of psychological trauma, or is it just mid-tier? Like, honestly, I don't know the answer to that. I've been thinking a lot about it lately. Take the poverty out of it. Take the military organization out of it. Just putting these concepts on a child. Yeah, how psychologically traumatic is that?
I couldn't possibly qualify it, but yes, I think that just alone is incredibly traumatizing. and soul destroying. And it imposes arrested development. It tells you don't grow, don't expand, don't think, don't feel. Yeah, that's going to be fucked up for anybody in any situation. All stuff is worse when you're poor. There's an old joke about it's better to be crying behind the wheel of a BMW than a Pinto, right? So like, fine. It's not like life is perfect when you have money, but it's a lot easier.
Are you responsible for what happened to you, for what you were born into?
No, I'm not. No, and I held myself responsible for everything for a very long time, and that's a big part of my damage, and that's the indoctrination.
Okay. Well, I think we should call it, Daniel. This has been a joyful experience. Should we call it?
Yes. I'm going to answer Amber's question, which is that Jamie is 6 years older than me. And I love that almost every time we get these questions about who's related to who and who's older than who. And Vanessa's last comment here, I think teaching us that this is a prison planet we are trying to escape sets us up for a fucked up view of life and depression.
It was okay, Daniel. Are you a trillion-year-old fallen god in a meat body? Go.
I think that, I believe in the eternal soul. The fallen god bullshit, that's ego. So no, of course not. But I do believe in the eternal soul, and I do believe in the existential notion of God being the collective of all of those consciousnesses.
If you could restart and be Daniel and live the life you've already lived, or be the soul that lives inside the embodiment of Steve Buscemi, what would you choose?
Would I rather be me in Steve Buscemi's body?
Yeah, you or Steve, and Steve Buscemi's career, like you were in Reservoir Dogs, you have all the stuff that he has.
I don't know that I could have played Mr. Pink as well as he did.
But would you come back as yourself, or would you come back as Steve Buscemi?
There's all sorts of mitigating factors to that.
Well, I'd like you to
Steve Buscemi is who he is because of his life experience.
Stay tuned. If the next Ketchup with Mustard, Daniel's going to answer if he would come back as himself or as Steve Buscemi.
But that changes who you are.
I know,
like even if I was a little shorter, that would fundamentally change who I know,
but this is going to be a great cliffhanger for next week. So just go along with it. Okay.
Next
week or in the next couple of weeks, whenever we do this again, Daniel's going to answer whether he would come back in a full reset as Daniel or if he would come back happily as Steve Buscemi. Right. So come on. If you want to know the answer, you got to tune in to the next Ketchup with Mustard. Okay.
Tune in next week and we'll find out what happens to our heroes. Okay. All right. Thank you all for listening. And watching and playing and giving a shit. We all, as I think has been thoroughly expressed, we all are so grateful for how much everybody gives a shit. Thank you. I'm looking over here at the comments.
Yeah. Cheers, y'all. I can't see the comments, but yeah, thanks for listening.
You can. You just have to clip a number. You have to. There's a button on your screen. You can look. You can see them, but don't worry about it. At the top, I'll show it to you later. I'm ending stream. Bye. Stay online though.
Okay. Cheers.
I'm ending here. You